Yeah, so today's day 2 of that watermelon cleanse that I'm on, which is, I'm feeling phenomenal, by the way. It's crazy how whatever you're doing, but when you're doing it with a certain intent, or it's kind of like you're programming what it is that you're doing. Now, I believe this whole hydration is key to health, right? And aside from that, I mean, working out, you know, when you get a pump in the gym, you fill up the muscle bellies with basically water. When you're dehydrated, you can't get a good pump. And I'll tell you right now, man, today's day 2, I did legs and I got a freaking great pump on like the largest muscle in your body. So it was energy and a pump like I really usually don't feel. It was literally, I could say, with less inflammation to some extent. But either way, I want to talk about something pretty interesting here, because there's a couple of things I've heard along the way, especially, you know, growing up in a religious household and whatnot, how there's a religious order, right? Where it talks about, you know, it's God, all right? And then you got man. Man was made in the image of God. And I even hear debates where this is even spoken of, and this is where it triggered that memory in me about the, you know, the religious order of how things work, the pecking order, we'll call it. But in either way, when you look at man created in the image of God, okay, I'm not looking at it in a sense where I'm looking at how we were all created into some image of a creator outside of yourself. And this is how we just basically came to be, because in actuality, we're going to start to get into arguments about, well, you know, why was this created in the image of God and other things are not, when everything is basically created in the image of God. But I'm looking at it from where, when I open my eyes, okay, everything is created in my image, right? Where when I'm observing something, whether it be a cat, whether it be a carnivore or a vegan, I am creating God, okay, from God, but meaning I am the source. And if I am observing this in my reality, it is created in my image, because it's in my line of sight, which is my image. So it doesn't matter who or what it is, it's in my image when I'm observing it, okay? And they're all mirrors and reflections of me, which is why it's said that God and man created in the image of God. Now, when we look at man, we look at woman, then we look at children, and we look at this order, right? Where it says God in man, man over woman, woman over kids, over children, okay? See, this is very interesting, because I started to think about this. And women, for, you know, when you look at everything in your reality as far as how you're observing it, you're observing everything in twos, in polarity. You can side with polarities, or you could just basically be aware and maintain the observer mode, where you're basically neutral, observing both sides. And when you do that, you can kind of see through the cracks of, even when you're polarized, you still have duality in those polarities. You know what I'm saying? Just because you're in one side doesn't mean that that's absolute. You still have polarities in that one side. And you may not even be aware that you're in polarities on that one side of things. I'm going to explain. So when you look at, for example, everything in twos, in pairs, to create a chemistry, you got positive, you got negative. You got man, you got woman. You got masculine, you got feminine. You got acid, you got alkaline. You got electric, you got magnetism. You see what I'm saying? You got protons, you got electrons. You always got that neutron, okay? But when you're looking at this realm, okay, is the realm of light, right? And you are basically looking at light as the masculine side of chemistry, okay? Now, you can look at the world. The world is called Mother Earth, right? La Tierra, which is, it's feminine. But it's being lit up by men, okay? You can look at this from the aspect of the sun lighting up the reality, but in actuality, there really is no sun. You are the sun, and that sun is there representing you the giver of all life. Okay, Jesus in men. Now, I believe in this order of things, because women, for example, want to fight for equal rights, but women are the negative side of energy. But we look at negative and we start to always say, is it bad or good? Because it's the word negative. So you think of the word negative as bad, but it's not. Negative just means a negative energy, a negative to a positive charge. Okay, it's a chemistry. So you got magnetism and you got electricity. One pushes out, one is magnetic. Now, when you look at this world you're looking at can be considered the field. Okay, if you have, let's say, iron filings and you sprinkle iron filings, okay, you're always going to get random patterns. But in order for you to actually get a formation, you would have to have the magnetism. So the field pretty much structures the iron filings for you to get a form. You get what I'm saying? So you have to have the magnetism to it. That's what basically, if you put a magnet in and you throw the iron filings near that magnet, it's going to show you the field. That's what it's going to show you. So you're basically looking at this now, where you have your body, you have the mind, but everything outside of you is being formed, okay, by you. You are basically man, and you are now in the field, and the field is shaping and forming you, your reality. And you're doing this all with the mind. Now, I'm going to make this little example here so you get a deeper understanding of what I'm talking about. You can have white and black, okay? Now, if you look, for example, there's these women movements. Women, right? Fighting for equal rights. Women trying to be like man or equal to man. That's why you got all these feminist movements. But this would not be possible without the benevolence of man. Okay? Women are granted rights because men give them rights. But if you look at this world, all right, you can look at the court systems, you can look at all the systems, they cater a lot to the woman. Okay? If you commit a crime, let's say you hit a woman, it's fucking lethal for a man. I mean, it's fucking terrible. But yet the woman can hit a man and it won't be looked at as harsh as a man hitting a woman, right? When you got black people are considered the negative side of things. Black, darkness, negative. They're also considered the feminine side of energy. But in that feminine side of energy, you still have male and female black people. Even though there's male and female black people, regardless, a black male will always still be in the feminine side of energy. Why do you think black people are fighting for equal rights? I see this shit in debates all the time too. They're going out trying to fight for, against white supremacy. And this is what they label it as, white supremacy. Because there's not really any supreme, being outside of you unless you label it that. But in this instant, in that category, even though you're polarizing, saying I'm black, you're in the feminine side of energy, okay? Even though you're a male black man. In the white side of things, where white people, they're considered more the masculine side of energy, even though there's women and men in that polar opposite end, right? This is why if you use the N-word, all right, it's, oh my God. But a black man could say the N-word and it wouldn't be a problem. I saw this in a UFC face-off with Israel Adesanya and Dricus du Plessis. And they're both from Africa. One happens to be from South Africa, and he's a white guy, but he's from South Africa. And Israel Adesanya is the black guy from Africa. But he kept saying the N-word, and it wasn't even looked at that bad. And now if Dricus du Plessis was saying that to him, he might even get thrown out of the UFC for that, for racism and whatnot, right? So you see how it ties in where the black people are on the feminine side of energy, even though we don't look at it like that, right? But then when you look at black and white, the dark side is the negative side, right? And we could look at that even as a bad thing or a good thing. But it's also the attractive side of things because it's magnetic, right? So women are attractive. They're magnetic, right? And men are drawn to the woman, right? Now, a man, for example, inserts his phallus into the vagina. You create a chemistry. The woman is receiving that phallus. The man is giving that electrical energy. It's like a plug, right? So you could think of it like this, where again, you see how it's looked at heinously in one way, but it's like if a man hits a woman, it's a lot harsher. But why? Because men are stronger than women in this physical realm. So man above woman, woman above children. But at the end of the day, right, if you look at it from the metaphysical side of things, women tend to be stronger than men metaphysically, because men are stronger in this physical realm. So women are a little bit stronger metaphysically. This is why all of a sudden you start to hear black people talking about black magic and, you know, spirituality, and how, you know, they're more evolved. And it's not even the evolvement part. You still need each other. The same way for a man and a woman to create, they need each other, right? But here's the thing though, everybody and everything is androgynous. You just have, there's really no such thing as gender, because you're like me, for example, I am expressing myself in the masculine side of energy, but I still have a percentage of estrogen in my body, right? Now you have woman who is expressing the feminine side of energy. They're predominantly estrogen with a smaller amount of testosterone. Now where these imbalances come in, where you start to have let's say transgenders, and you start to, I'll make that in another video, because there now we're starting to go into an imbalance of chemistry, but that's all by design at the end of the day. But it's got advantages spiritually and metaphysically, believe it or not. Okay, so we label these things. We label bad, good. Everything just is. When you're looking at it neutral, everything just is. Everything that you're looking at outside of you, it doesn't matter what the fuck it is, all right? You labeling it bad or good because it just is, but they're all aspects and pieces of you created in the image of God, which is you. So whatever you're observing in your reality, in your image, okay, is you creating everything in the image of God, because you are God. Okay, now there's a lot of people who would say that you are not God. There's people who say that, you know, that because they're looking at it backwards. Like, you know, certain archangels and shit like that, demons, and polarizing to one extent. You want to say you're an archangel, then you are my worker, okay? Because here's the thing though, as God, my definition, okay, is not coming from a religious standpoint. It's you taking authority over your life, okay? You having sovereignty, and the more sovereignty you have, the more control you have over your life. You know how to say no. How could you say no if you have no knowledge, right? Because you don't know. When you know, you can say no. You take authority. You have control of your life. This is your life, right? You're here in this reality. You being the God of your realm, you take responsibility without pointing fingers, without being the victim. God can't be a victim. See, the whole thing is, we got to look at it from two sides of things though. God is all possibilities, infinite potential, right? But that's you knowing that your physical body is the limitation, right? But here's the thing though, how do you gain control and sovereignty and power over your life? Let's say you're very good at something, you specialize in that, right? Now, you being the God of your realm would be you having your community and utilizing people who have skills and traits that you don't have, because you can't be good at everything, right? So in order for you to have a proper functioning community, let's say I would need a carpenter. I don't know anything about carpentry, right? But that carpenter may need something that I have. So now we use each other and we use our skills to build something together. I may need somebody who's good at something else. This is what you do. You kind of build the community like that. Even when we talk about the aspects of, let's say, people who want to debate about veganism, carnivorism, even in that aspect, you still have polarities. Because the vegans are doing exactly what carnivores are doing, just in a different state, okay? They're hunting, they're murdering, they're doing all that. But they're doing it because that's just where they're at, you know? And I'll make another video on that, because I've already made videos on the topic of veganism and whatnot, and how the polarities, even in those the duality even in those polarities exist. But that's all I wanted to cover for this video. If I got something else, I will cover it. And like, share, and subscribe. We will talk soon.